What is up? Happy Friday. Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy. I love some of the appointments Trump's doing. It's entertaining. I love more that it annoys a lot of people. I think that's been the takeaway from this entire thing, the annoyance. And so much of it is a game. It's what a lot of this stuff is. It's just a game they're playing. Who can we get through? Who can we not get through? Who's going to be this? Who's going to be that? I think a lot of people are worried, well, what's going to happen with, Health and Human Services? Because we're not going to allow that guy to get it, are we? Oh, they are. And that guy is Robert Kennedy Jr. Bobby. I call him Bobby. We're good friends. Watching people freak out, though, man, you got to love it. He's not even taken the job. He's not even been confirmed. And people are losing their mind. And I have seen this before when he won, where people lost their mind. And nothing happened. So much of what we think is going to happen in life happens in our mind. It doesn't happen in real life. Wait till Dad gets home. For the most part, Dad never really did anything. That we build these things up to the point where we think the world is coming to an end and there's nothing anybody's going to be able to do to stop it. And that's not true. And I was talking to a couple people because, I do my other show and I did some other hits on some other stations. And I said to people, they were worried that he's going to take away your vax. I'm like, he's not. He's a skeptic. He's not anti-vax. How about this? I like doing numbers. I'm 53 years young. I was born in 1970, right? Just the bell bottoms were in. Disco was on its way. I'm doing my thing because I'm little. By the time I was 6, I had, I think, 6 vaccines. The average was between 5 and 7 vaccines for that child. Today, by the time they're 18, they'll have about 50 shots. Somebody's making money. When you go and you look at the numbers, when you go and look at all that stuff, who's doing what? I don't see why accountability is so bad. And one of the big reasons that people freak out in the world of government is because government's the largest lobbyist of government. They don't want to lose their position. This is business, no more than that. It's not about the well-being of America. I don't think anybody wants to see kids get sick and die. What they do want to see is to make sure that things go the way it's always done. It's always gone this way, so it should always go this way. So you have people freaking out, and they're talking about, it's the end of this. We're going to have polio tomorrow. You can't stop it. It's coming.
A pretty seismic shift in health policy, period. Public health policy, certainly, because this appointment could lead to just an elevation of all of these, prominent vaccine skeptics, misinformation. To your point about children, all we have to do is look at the state of Florida, where the Surgeon General there had been incredibly relaxed about vaccine, not even vaccine mandates, Jonathan. He was incredibly lax about active measles cases, and parents should, quote, decide if you can send your children to school with active measles.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Measles, 32 states, including many blue states. There's nothing to worry about. You're not, and it's just the insanity of it all. And here comes, everybody thinks that Bobby Kennedy, Jr., because the other one's not with us, that he is going to literally tell everybody, you can't have your stuff anymore. We're taking it all away. That's one of the only impressions I do of actual human beings, because I do a lot of cartoon stuff. But it's not going to happen. It's not. He's not waking up and going, all right, I'm throwing everybody's stuff away. You can't have it, blah, blah, blah. It's no. The efficacy of it. Is it good? Has it been put through the same stringent thing that all these other drugs have been put through? By the way, who here in the agency has worked for Big Pharma? Who here in Big Pharma has worked with the agencies? Because I want to know who's going back and forth, because that's what they do. If you know anything about D.C., go to K Street. Everybody, they go as long as they can in government until they decide, you know what, I want to make some big money. And then they go off and they make big money being a lobbyist. So the freaking out of it is tremendous. So this Dr. Patel, she was on with Morning Joe, who wasn't there today, probably still upset.
So I don't think it's trivial to say that this is undermining the future health of not just one generation, several generations, because think about how long it's taken to end literally polio, measles. We have vaccines that can truly eradicate these diseases. And now we'll see not only, again, an elevation of nothing related to science, not evidence-based approaches, but a dismantling of that critical public health infrastructure. And coming out of COVID, thinking about all the kind of threats that we have to public health in general, I can't think of a time when we needed trust in health institutions. And there's just not going to be any of that with a secretarial appointment at this level.
Sorry, you're wrong. And let me tell you something. You lost that trust. You lost that trust when you decided to go against what was science. When the likes of Dr. Fauci and everybody else, and he's already a big enough villain, I don't want to relitigate all that, but when many of these people lied, when they would announce something and within 30 minutes on the website, they would put it up, and within 30 minutes after that, they would take it down. Because it didn't really, we were too early, it wasn't going to do this. It was, and I said from jump, when it came to the likes of even the COVID vaccine, it's not a vaccine. Polio, right? You don't kind of get polio. It's like, oh, I just got a little smidge of polio. You get polio. That's a vaccine. This was like the flu shot. It offers protection. If you get sick, you'll be less sick. You could still spread it, but it's going to give you a certain amount of protection. That's not what we were pitched. It's not what we were told. But he's an anti-vaxxer. He's not. Dr. Drew.
It is incumbent upon everybody to continue to pressure the press. I wonder if he doesn't sue the press for slander, because he's fully vaxxed, his family's fully vaxxed, he has no vaccine denialism. He wants vaccines subjected to the same scientific rigor as all the other medication that people like me are allowed by the FDA to bring to market. So we could use these things. As it is an entirely different operation with no liability to speak of, and there may be really significant problems with these vaccines. At least we should be able to ask the questions. I'm not a vax denier. Everybody's fully vaxxed in my practice. But when I give my patients informed consent, I have to include in that these things have not been tested the way I would be satisfied to really give them a clear understanding.
Simple and easy. That's it. And I want to know stuff is tested. I want to know stuff is right. I have a 6-year-old. She gets her shots, but we've held off. We're spacing them out. And some of them we ask questions about, because you should, right? Like, you know, and COVID, I think, really blew this thing up in a way, because pre-COVID, let's not forget, who was anti-vax pre-COVID? All the hippies out there. Like, who was anti-vax? The likes of Jenny McCarthy. Remember Jenny McCarthy? She was like, oh, I gave my kid autism. There were so many people that were anti-vax that weren't on the conservative side. It became an issue when it was about Trump. By the way, Trump could stop. He could figure out a cure for cancer today, and people are like, I should probably go catch cancer. Because Trump, I want to show the world. It's insane. Let them get in their place, and if they fail, they fail. But the fear isn't about whether or not he's going to stop vaxxing, whether or not he's going to do this over here when it comes to food. Because let's be real. I'm 53. Some of you watching me on camera right now, I'm not as fit as I used to be, but I'm not in bad shape. But I'd like to look like that at 70. That guy is yoked. And he's right about all the chemicals in the food. Oh, my God. My wife talks about it all the time. You know there's chemicals in his food? Red dye 5. Red dye 5. You go look at what we've become as a nation, how big we've become. It's embarrassing. You know that. Some of you might go, yeah, I really know that. Yeah, you only have to walk down the street and go, whew, geez. So there's a lot that's going to go into this. And I'm interested to see how it plays out, because I like the fact that if you're going to do something, you have to do it in a major way. It has to be radical, and government doesn't like that. Government is uncomfortable with that. Government is afraid. Weed. We talked about weed when I was here on Monday. What was that thing, Bell? Was it the drink, right? The weed drink?
Yeah, the THC in sodas,
yeah,
adult sodas.
So the weed, if you guys know anything about how all that stuff played out. Go read about Hearst and all who ran, the newspaper empire. It had all to do with paper. And hemp was better than this. And government will never apologize. Government will never fix itself unless it's forced to. I think as adults, even if you don't think the drug should be legal, it shouldn't be classified the same thing as like heroin. But that's government right there. Inefficient and overbearing. That is what they're all about. And it's interesting to see the way that this thing plays itself out. How this is going to go, what kind of appointments are actually going to be recess appointments. See, I look at somebody like Marco Rubio, who he's liked by most senators. Even John Fetterman came out the other day, and he said, look, I like Marco. Marco's a good guy. I think he has a really good appointment. I don't think he'll have a problem. Pete Hegseth, maybe, but, he's going to get his stuff through. Matt Gaetz, I think, is going to give him a problem, and partially because nobody, for the most part, is not a fan of Matt Gaetz. I got a Matt Gaetz story we'll talk about a little bit later. He and I went to the border together with Andy Biggs, who is also a MAGA congressperson, and it was a rather interesting situation there. So we'll talk about that. A lot of stuff to get to. I'm in for Matt Murphy, who's in for Brian Wilson. You're going to be used to this. We're going to do this for Monday and Fridays for a while. Pretty excited about that. A lot of stuff still to get to, including a boxing match tonight. Who's pumped for the boxing match? If you don't know about that, I'm going to break it down for you kids because, yes, Mike Tyson, at the wise old age of 58, or young, depending on how you look at it, taking on a YouTuber. But the YouTuber is not just a YouTuber. So plenty of stuff to get to as well. And Chris and I were talking about it earlier, the insanity of the overbearing world of children. We schedule everything, and we don't want them out of our sight. Yet at the same time, we don't want them to go play, because if they go play, they may hurt themselves, but they need to get out of the house and go play, but it needs to be in a different way. And now we're at the point where free-range children aren't really existing anymore because you can't. Because if you try to have a free-range kid, you could get in trouble, which is incredible. We're talking about that as well. And Trente Agua here in Tennessee. I don't know if you guys saw this. Venezuelan gang. You've probably heard about, those are the ones in Aurora, Colorado. Well, they're everywhere. And now they're starting to pop up here in Tennessee. They're in Nashville. They're in Memphis, not quite in Knoxville. But what are they going to be doing, and what the hell are they doing here? So much stuff to get to today. And I'm excited about the boxing match. I will be watching it tonight. Mike Tyson. I'm going to give you my pick. I'm going to tell you the rules because there's special rules for this, even though it's a sanctioned fight. And you can watch it on Netflix if you had Netflix for free. So it's not going to cost you $49.99. I am in for the one and only Matt Murphy. He'll be back here right at 3 o'clock when I leave because he's sitting in for Brian. So don't worry about that. It is Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy. It is Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital. Why don't you guys talk to my buddies over there at Bulwark? They're doing a free webinar next week. And if you know anything about investing, they like to give everybody what they call a second opinion or a risk review. But they're doing this webinar about what it is that they do. And their whole thing is risk management. Your retirement, you get one retirement. How many of you guys understand that? You get one retirement? Your retirement's different than somebody else's retirement? Because maybe you want to sit on an island somewhere and drink cocktails. Other people want to take that dream they've always had and turn it into a reality after they're done and have a second act that's amazing. They're going to walk you through what they do with risk review. It doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time. And through their webinar, you can be able to see how they do all of their stuff. Call 866-779-RISK today. 866-779-RISK. It is next Thursday, 3:30 Pacific. It is the free risk review from Bulwark Capital. Check them out. You can check out everything they do at knowyourriskradio.com. KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and not a guarantee. Past performance no guarantee of future results. Trek 24312.
Highly anticipated boxing match Tyson and Paul tonight. Also, American spending has increased. Those stories coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mike Tyson squaring off against Jake Paul, the 58-year-old Tyson slapping the 27-year-old YouTuber turned boxer at weigh-in. Despite a 31-year age gap and being a major underdog, sportsbooks report 90% of all bets are being placed on the Hall of Famer Tyson. The most popular bet? Tyson winning in the first round. Paul is betting big on himself, taking multiple million-dollar bets from fellow fighters, even staking his claimed $40 million payout.
$40 million, each of them getting $40 million. He is the biggest stir of crap on the internet, him and his brother. So they're going to fight tonight. It is in Dallas. It's at AT&T Stadium, the house that Jared built. They're expecting somewhere between 65 and maybe 100,000 people. I'm not quite sure. So the way it works is this is actually a fight. So if you know anything about Logan Paul and Jake Paul, they're brothers. Jake is calls himself the problem child. He takes it serious. So he fought nothing but, like KSI, all other YouTubers and people. Then he fought some journeymen. He fought Tyson Fury, whose little brother is like one of the cruiserweight or light heavyweight champions. He fought him, lost in a split decision. He's an athlete. He is a boxer. He's a hell of a boxer. This is not like, Tyson jumping in with somebody that he's going to knock out in the first round. Tyson's also 58. So the way that they've agreed to do this is 2-minute rounds, 14-ounce gloves, and only 8 rounds. So that'll be interesting. But my money, I said it today, I think it's going to be a split decision. If Mike can't get to him early, it's going to go the distance. Dude can't get to him early. It's going to go to distance. That's just, and the longer it goes, because you're 58 years old. I've got those Oculus, and I'll go box with those. Man, that thing's not real, and it's not hitting me. And after like 4 rounds, I'm like, I'm done. So this is going to be this will be an interesting thing for sure tonight, though. And the prize money, though, man, I was looking, I was like, $40 million. And I don't know if and that is kind of what they're guaranteed. I don't know what they're getting because there's no pay-per-view. So usually what happens is boxers get paid a portion of the gate and a portion of the buy. But this is the first thing that Netflix has done that is going to be live sporting event like that. And I think on Christmas this year, they're also going to have a football game. A football game indeed, Chad, indeed. You want to reach out to me. I love it when you guys do, and a lot of you have been nice. You can do it on Twitter or X. Is that what they call it? X? I don't even know. It's so silly. Nobody calls it X, really. They don't. We all call it Twitter, and when it's a tweet, it's a tweet. Nobody calls it an X. So you can reach out to me at Chad Benson Show. Because I do love hearing from all of you, and we'll get the text line up here in a second. Because, again, as I move into this place and try to figure out how to work stuff while I'm here these 2 days, it takes a minute. So bear with me, if you will. A lot of stuff still to get done. I do want to talk about some of the stuff that is going on locally with the gangs, and should we be worried? Because we overdo it. But this gang has moved here, Tren de Agua, which is a Venezuelan gang that came out of the prisons. And they've popped up here. The TBI has seen them. They're asking serious questions about how many of them are here. What are they here for? Well, they're here to traffic. And they're changing their appearance. They're doing things. And this is something we should pay attention to because gangs are bad. And growing up in a place where gangs were prevalent, Southern California, and then living in places like Arizona where we saw the cartels everywhere, you have no idea what this could turn into. And we don't want it to become one of those situations, which is, unfortunately the possibility that could happen. A bunch of other good stuff, including, it's interesting. Today I was watching Al Gore do his thing. So Al Gore's out there pitching the dream. And this is the battle that, when people say, Chad, are you a climate denier? I'm not a climate denier. Let me tell you something about climate. Do I think we, as human beings, have played a huge part in climate? Of course. There's 8 billion of us on this planet. How are we not going to play some part of this? How big of a part? Why is it we're not going back as far as we possibly can when we start looking at some of the temperatures? Like I said earlier, I'm 53 years old. When I was a kid, I was terrified of two things. Nuclear war, because that was pushed in our face all the time, right? Like nuclear war was a big deal. Like, because they had weapons, we had weapons, they didn't like us, we didn't like them. How close were we? And the other thing was the coming ice age. What? The coming ice age. There was a coming ice age when I was a child. It's on the cover of Time magazine. It was on the cover of Newsweek. In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy, did this huge thing about the coming ice age, how everything is going to freeze, how everybody's going to be buffalo. And then it slowly went away. Now we've got, then it became what? Global warming, which became climate change. Because at that point in time, it doesn't matter which way the climate goes, you're right. And I want to talk about the stuff that's right and wrong and what we should care about and why it's such a nightmare that you can't have conversations about abortion, immigration, climate change, because people freak out, and it is not a good place to be. I am Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy. He will be here today to do his thing, in for Brian Wilson, who is off, as you guys know, this week starting Monday and Friday. So you'll be hearing me for a while. So unfortunately, that's what you're stuck with, kids. It is the Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy. Super Talk 99.7.
It's 12:30. I'm Jeff Malinoff with your top stories. That full forecast coming your way in about 5 minutes. Tennessee schools are seeing the real cost of illegal immigrants on their budget. State Representative Scott Sapicki telling WTN's Dan Menace on the show.
We're being hit with roughly about 700 to 800 million more a year in K-12 education because the federal government says that if they show up to our classrooms, we have to educate them, which means I've got to find ESL teachers. And trust me, those teachers do not grow on trees.
He says he favors Oklahoma's approach of a spending bill to the federal government for the cost of educating so many ESL kids. More news in Nashville. In Tennessee, state lawmakers are filing legislation to give non-U.S. citizens driver's licenses with a twist. They would be a different color than the licenses that U.S. citizens get. Immigration rights advocates tell Channel 4 it will make immigrants feel like they don't belong and open the door to harassment by law enforcement.
It's confusing sometimes for law enforcement. It's confusing for employers who are hiring people with different immigration statuses, and it's confusing for the immigrants themselves.
The bill was filed earlier this week. Americans stepped up their spending last month. ABC's Sherry Preston has the latest from the Commerce Department.
Suggesting the economy is growing briskly, retail sales rose 0.4% from September to October, a solid increase, but less than the previous month. Spending was robust at car dealerships, electronic stores, and appliance stores, and to a lesser extent on bars and restaurants. Garden center store sales were also up, which could be the result of rebuilding after the hurricanes. Americans spent less last month on furniture, clothing, and at drugstores.
Moving to Texas, the path has been cleared for the lethal injection of Texas state death row inmate Robert Robertson. ABC's Jim Ryan has an update on the man convicted of killing his daughter in 2002.
Robert Robertson was set for execution last month when the Texas Supreme Court halted the procedure to allow the 57-year-old to testify before a legislative committee. In the end, Robertson did not appear, but his supporters did and argued that he was wrongly convicted and sentenced to die. Now the Supreme Court has removed its temporary block, saying its authority had been circumvented by state lawmakers. No new execution date has been set. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jeff Malinoff, WTN News.
I am a latchkey kid. I tell my kids I lived in the greatest time for being a kid. Now, the kids got everything nowadays. My little 6-year-old can zoom around on a computer. I never dreamed of doing that at 6. I mean, we got Atari. We're like, it's never going to get better than this. I mean, I didn't think it was going to get better than Pong, for God's sakes. Remember Pong? It's like you would watch people play Pong for like an hour. You're like, that is the height of just amazing.
What blows me away about it is I remember when my father brought Pong home, and it was, like now you go and you buy a game console.
Yeah.
That's been the case since the 80s when you go get your Atari 2600. Pong was the entire console.
It was.
That's all it did was play Pong, and it was a whole console.
It was just amazing. It was incredible. We had a guy down the street. He got a computer, his family. We all went over and looked at it, right? And it was one of those ones, it was like DOS-based Mac, and it was like, okay, if you turn it off wrong, the whole computer's destroyed, so don't turn it off wrong. I'm like, I don't even want to touch it.
Don't pick up the tower without locking down the hard drive.
It was so crazy. So my kids can do. I mean, they live in the greatest time for stuff. We drove when we drove out here. So we moved out here. It was. We took like 3 days. We cruised around. We saw the parts of the country. My kids were super excited to see trees. Like, oh my God, trees! It's the most amazing thing. But they never once go, are we there yet? And they never once did. Why? Because they had everything they need. They're doing stuff that they would normally do at the house, just doing back of the car. But being a latchkey kid, I had the advantage of doing whatever I wanted to do. Right or wrong, it was 70s parenting, right? Like my mom has pictures of her holding me in her arm with a drink and a smoke. At her at her baby shower, there's pictures of her drinking and smoking. It was the 70s. Nobody cared, right? The kid might be a little smaller than normal. They didn't know. That being said, I wasn't going to come home until the lights came on. If I wanted to find my friends, they were down the street. You would be driving your bike, right? I'm on my Mongoose or my Skyway. Just do my thing. And then all of a sudden,
You're on your big wheel.
I look over and go, oh, everybody else's stuff is parked in front of so-and-so's house. We're cruising over there. That's where everybody was. And Mom would call around. Is Chad there? Yeah. If you're bored with him, send him home. Oh, yeah. He said he might stay the night. Okay. That was it. Like, I was all over the place. You can't do that today because somewhere along the line, we've decided that every child must be protected to the point where not just bubble wrap, but you must monitor them, look at them. It is insane. Case in point, this lady in Georgia, that's a state over, right? Like this isn't California where you expect this. It's Georgia.
A mother of 4, shocked to be arrested in front of her children.
It was anger and frustration, of course, because my children were having to witness that.
All because her then 10-year-old son was spotted walking alone in Mineral Bluff, Georgia, a town with a population of about 370.
It's really not even a town, hardly. It's not a super dangerous or even dangerous at all stretch of road.
Okay. 370 people. It's a road I'm pretty sure he's familiar with. There's 370 people that live there. You know who the weirdo is, right? Everybody does. And it's a stretch of road. They make it sound like Jimmy was walking on the Autobahn. I don't know how he did it. Just wandered out there. And it's none of that. And they arrested her. This is overreach. This is bureaucracy. This is what terrifies people with government. Unelected officials doing things and making decisions about, should we look into this person? Should we look in that? Somebody calls up and goes, there's a kid walking down the street at any given time as a white van. It's always a white van, right? It's never a blue van. It's never, it's never just a regular car. 99.99% of people who are abducted, kids, they're abducted by who? A family member. Usually it's a parental dispute. Okay. Now, Georgia, if you go back into the 80s, there was the Atlanta child murders. We all remember. That's long gone, right? This isn't happening anymore.
Brittany Patterson lives less than a mile from town with her father and children. On October 30th of this year, she had to take her eldest son to a medical appointment. Her youngest son, Soren, didn't want to come, she said. so she left him at home. Then she received a call from a police officer.
So when you got that phone call from the police officer saying, hey, do you know your kid is in town? What did you think?
I said no. I didn't know he was in town. I was not expecting them to say that, but I wasn't terrified for him or scared for his safety.
The police officer drove Soren home, she says, and made it clear it was problematic. Brittany didn't know where Soren was. At that point, Brittany thought the ordeal was over until officers showed up that evening to arrest her.
Okay, where's your kid? He walked into town. Do you know where he's at? I know, he's probably at a friend's house. If they would have asked many of you listening right now, if they would have asked your parents or maybe your kids, do you know where your kids are? I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard from the police, so I'm sure they're okay, right? You know, they're back in our day? Of course. I mean, my God. You wonder why our kids weigh 400 pounds and don't leave the room? We don't allow them to leave the room because everything is stranger danger. Everything is. What if he got into the white van because there was candy? Look, if somebody wants to abduct you and you're a child, I'm assuming that weirdo could probably overpower you. And I'm not getting in any van without a puppy.
If they got into the van because it had candy, somewhere along the line, that parent did a very poor job of explaining what not to do to that child.
Oh, God. If somebody shows up and they're offering you a puppy and candy to get into a white van, say, you know what? I'm a diabetic and I don't like dogs.
That or I'll take it to go.
It's just the stranger danger. But the fact that you would arrest a parent over something like this is insane. And I say that in a weird way, reminding everybody that we have hundreds of unaccompanied minors who are coming to this country, going through other countries where they're going to be trafficked, where they're going to be raped, where they're going to be used as mules for drugs. Yeah, we continue.
They asked me to put my hands behind my back and all that stuff, and I realized what was going on.
Brittany was taken to county jail, booked, and then released on $500 bail. She's now facing a misdemeanor charge of reckless conduct. The arrest warrant saying she, quote, knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son. If found guilty, she could face up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. The DA's office didn't provide us with a comment. Local police declined to issue a statement, and we did not hear back from Child Services. Prosecutors asking Brittany to sign a safety plan before they'd consider dropping the charges, according to her lawyer.
We want to witness you downloading the GPS app to your son's phone. Okay. And then you've got to check on where he is. Really? And he's got to let you or grandma know where he is at all times.
You don't raise productive, trusting adults by knowing where they are 24/7. They must leave the nest. They must have opportunities to spread their wings. You give them the advice that you give them. You talk about some of the dangers that are out there, but they're going to learn this. This is what you need to do to raise children that will be eventually productive children in society who don't have issues of being terrified of everything. And we can know where our kids are 24/7.
But Brittany and her attorney are unwilling to accept this deal.
This is not right. I did nothing wrong. And I'm going to fight for that.
The story is striking a nerve as technology inundates our lives, giving parents more control over their children. So how much freedom should kids still get?
Like, are all parents going to have to put GPS on their child?
And when I asked about the law in Georgia, when it comes to kids being able to be on their own,
That parents get to decide for their children unless it is unreasonably dangerous.
And Brittany agrees it should be a personal decision.
You know, part of it is knowing your neighborhood and knowing your area and what your level of comfortability is with each child.
An assessment Brittany made about Soren and hopes the DA will as well.
So I've got 4 kids. So my son lives in Southern California with his mom. And he wants all the freedom in the world that he can have because he's 14 and he wants to do that. I have my 16-year-old stepdaughter. She lives with grandma right now as they close up everything in Arizona, and she's homeschooled. And so they'll be coming out here. But she is very much a homebody. She's not that. She doesn't need to roam the world. But I trust her. I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter who lives here with me. Love her to death. I trust her with anything. Like she wanders around here crazy style because she loves it. Because where we lived, it was pretty rural in Arizona. And I have a 6-year-old who, she's still, she's starting to get her wings. But I want them to have that. When I was 11, I took my first trip to Europe by myself. I went to a soccer camp. We could barely afford it. I went, knew all the stuff that I was doing, who I was supposed to meet on the other side. There was a couple other kids on the plane with me. And then we were going to go to this camp and do this stuff. It was amazing. It was awesome. Were you scared? No. I wasn't. There is a show on Netflix that is a show, I think it's in Japan. It shows you the difference between us and them. We talk about all these great freedoms we have, the bureaucracy and this insanity that of protecting everything overreaches. But there's a show in Japan where they send kids who are 2 or 3 into the city and tell them to go buy eggs or do something, and they shoo them on their way. And they have to get there on their own, and they do, because that's part of the process of growing up. Now, Japan has a lot less crime and situations like that, but still, if you're not going to let your 10-year-old have some freedom because you're terrified of what may happen because of the police, and now we have to name them free-range children, oh, my God, that is not a good place for America to be. No. Oh, jeez. Like, okay, Belle, you and I are nearly the same age, right?
Yeah. You're a little older, but,
Okay, we get it. But I look great, so that's all that matters. I have a head, he doesn't, so that's the way it is. You rode your bike, never home, right, in the summer?
Yeah, never happened.
How many times were you kidnapped?
I'm drawing a blank. I don't remember ever being kidnapped.
Yeah, mine was a half a dozen, but most of the guys were good. So it was.
I remember being a kid out in Hendersonville when we lived out there when I was a child, and there was so much construction going on. There was always a place that you could go ride your bike around the construction and over the dirt mounds and all that stuff. And we would split. We would all gather up, go to the construction areas, and just ride our bikes for hours on end. Never once was anything ever said about it in terms of, well, you could get kidnapped.
Yeah, that never crossed my parents' mind. Maybe that was bad parenting. They said, hey, somebody might try to steal you one day, so don't let that happen. Never. They were just like, we'll see you later. And that was it. Was it the greatest thing of all? Sometimes you can get into a little bit of trouble. That being said, though, that's part of growing up. And if you're going to hold parents accountable for something like that, and we don't let kids play on the playground anymore, we don't let kids be kids anymore, we don't let them grow, you're going to raise a bunch of people that are terrified of everything, that don't date each other, they don't procreate, they don't want to do anything other than sit inside the house and live in fear. That is something that's not good. It's not good at all. I'm Chad Benson, in for Matt Murphy. He'll be in for Brian Wilson. This is Super Talk 99.7. Rough greens, that is what I give my dogs and cats. So I have a cat named Angus. He looks like he got hit by lightning. So about a year ago, we're just like, I don't know what we're going to do. We started taking him in, and we couldn't figure anything out with this. And it's costing us, our rescue cat was costing us thousands of dollars. Lo and behold, Rough Greens, which does this amazing supplement for dogs, came up with Meow Greens. We started giving it to him. He looked like he got hit by lightning. He had the cone of shame on. Like, our dogs didn't even know what to do with him, because they would see him and they're like, why is the satellite dish coming at us? But lo and behold, started helping him, started clearing up his skin and his allergies. This supplement is a powder form. It's got all these enzymes. It's got omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff. And you just sprinkle it on top of your dog or cat's food. It helps with aches and pains in their joints, skin, fur, you name it. It is incredible. And his energy level is up, but so is the fact that he no longer scratches himself to almost death. If you love your animals like I love my animals, I want you to try this. It is a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens or Meow Greens. It's not going to cost you anything but a few bucks. It's like a $20 value, and all they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Don't change anything. Try it now. Go to ruffgreens.com/chat, ruffgreens.com/chat for either Meow Greens or Rough Greens, the best powder supplement you will ever give your dog or cat. ruffgreens.com/chat.
The fact that the scientists who predicted all of this decades ago
We have opening arguments of the Laken Riley's murder trial. Also, a Las Vegas police officer is under investigation for killing a victim and not the suspect. That's all coming up at 1 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The fact that the scientists who predicted all of this decades ago or have been proven dead right should cause the rest of us to pay more attention to what they're telling us now.
That's Deputy Dog there, Al Gore. So, climate change. We're going to get into it a little bit next hour. Man, Bear, Pig. Oh, South Park. You guys, that's Man, Bear, Pig. He's totally not cool. That's all I got to say. That's cool. So, why they made fun of Man, Bear, Pig? Because Man, Bear, Pig's not real. Now, climate change is real. It happens. Climate changes all the time. When they talk about the destruction that happens in the climate, the storms are really bad. Are they? Well, yeah, look at all the damage they've done. Well, yeah, 150 years ago, nobody lived there. If there was nobody living in Asheville, would there have been any damage? No. Look at all the stuff that happens. California, they got the wildfires raging right now. Well, if there weren't houses there, it would just be a wildfire, and they would come and they'd put it out, or it'd eventually burn itself out. When they talk about stuff, it's not about the death and destruction. It's about the monetary side of it. Both how can they scare you into it, and how can they grab control. It's very important. A lot of stuff to talk about next hour. I am Chad Benson, in for Matt Murphy, who I hear is going to be here later, but I don't know. It's a sharp-dressed man, I'll tell you that. I felt the need to actually put boots on today because he looked so good the other day, and I'm wearing a long shirt. So what do you guys think of that? Coming up, a lot of good stuff, including we got a giveaway, which is awesome. I've not given anything away on the radio in years. It's like music radio. Chad Benson, in for Matt Murphy, right here on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 1 o'clock. I'm Jeff Malinoff with your top stories. Full forecast in about 5 minutes. Opening arguments today at the trial of accused murderer Jose Ibarra. Prosecutors say Ibarra was in the U.S. illegally when he allegedly raped and killed 22-year-old Laken Riley, a nursing student whose body was found near a popular running trail on the campus of University of Georgia. ABC's Morgan Norwood has an update from New York.
The prosecution told the judge, and painting this picture to the judge, saying that Jose Ibarra had this all planned out, right? They say that he essentially went hunting for women to sexually assault at UGA back in February and then found Laken Riley on her morning jog. It was routine for her, brutally beat her to death.
Morgan Norwood also says this will be a no jury trial.
This is not a jury trial. It's what we call a bench trial. So going to be a little bit different. So rather than having your prosecution, your counsel, your defense present evidence to a jury, a panel here, there's going to be fewer formalities with the bench trial because the judge here is the sole fact finder. He knows the law. And with that said, there's a chance that this case could even move a little bit quicker than what we would normally see.
An investigation is underway in Las Vegas after a police officer shot and killed a victim rather than the suspect. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
20 to 35, 10 medium build.
On Tuesday morning, Las Vegas police went racing to a home. The man living inside said people were breaking in and firing shots. He was hiding inside with his 15-year-old daughter. When police made entry, they found the man struggling over a knife with the intruder. Not knowing who they were, an officer opened fire, killing the man who had called for help. Heard in body-worn camera audio.
Hey, hands off the knife!
Police say the suspect and victim knew each other. The suspect, who was not shot, is now booked for home invasion and assault with a deadly weapon. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Now, money news. Here's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. After last week's bounce into record territory, stocks are poised for losses this week. The Dow this morning was down 276 points, while the Nasdaq was off 1.8%. The S&P had given up 1%. Plenty of Americans have gotten a jump on holiday shopping, but the National Retail Federation is expecting a record number to be out looking for deals soon. Its new survey suggests over 183 million people will go shopping between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday. Ford has been hit with the second biggest fine ever from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The car maker has to pay up to $165 million for moving too slowly on a recall connected to faulty backup cameras. The latest work stoppage is at the Virgin Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The Culinary Workers Union, the largest labor union in Nevada with 60,000 members, calls Virgin's latest contract offer an insult. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Looking at the market now, Dow is down 0.7%, S&P 500 down 1.5%, and NASDAQ is down 2.5%. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jeff Malinoff, WTN News.
Immigration, obviously a big deal. Illegal immigration, a massive deal. We need to fix this. We need to get this sorted. We understand that. Trump was not lying when they said Venezuela essentially opened up all of the mental health facilities and prisons and said, be on your way. And what did we get? We got a very violent gang that was predominantly a gang that ran inside of the prisons that is now here taking hold, not just in the States, but even here in Tennessee.
Trinidad Aragua, a violent Venezuelan gang, has been making headlines over its growing presence in the U.S., from apartment shootouts in Aurora, Colorado, to kidnappings and murders near Dallas, Texas, linked to the gang. Now, Trinidad Aragua has a presence in every major city in Tennessee, according to the state's Bureau of Investigation. TBI Director David Roush addressed the growing threat during a budget meeting with Governor Bill Lee this week, warning there's been an uptick in gang activity over the last few months. Officials say this gang formed inside Venezuelan prisons and started to show up in Tennessee neighborhoods 2 years ago.
So they've been here for a while, and it's now a situation where it's no longer kind of something that happens between immigrants and people that, that wouldn't normally call anybody. See, the thing about what took place in Aurora and a lot of these places is these gangs take hold and they terrorize their own. They're not terrorizing. If there's two regular American citizens inside of a building, they're not terrorizing them. If there's the other 20 people that are in there are here illegally or on some sort of, temporary work visa, whatever it is, they're coming after them because they know that you're terrified to make that phone call, so they got a captured victim. Well, it's starting to change now because now they're becoming a force to be reckoned with, and they're fine with that. And to become a force to be reckoned with, you have to compete with the cartels. That means you have to be bigger, bolder, and more violent. And it's starting to spill out.
But now the TBI director says the gang is making their presence known across cities like Memphis and Nashville. Officials are particularly concerned over human trafficking of women and violence between Trinidad Aragua and the cartel spilling out onto the streets.
They're back in all of our major cities. They are running human trafficking operations. That's where they start. They will and they have taken on the cartel head on. And so they have, and they're very violent in their efforts.
Roush says one local example is Trinidad Aragua gang members filming themselves executing a cartel member, shooting him 31 times, then sharing the video across social media.
They do not hesitate to attack their opponents in public, in broad daylight.
They don't care. They don't. And that's part of the whole thing in that situation is you're sending a message. You're sending a message, and this is it. We don't care. We've scared everybody around here, so they're never going to turn on us. We don't care, and we're here. And it's not just for the cartels either. One of the things that over the last decade or two, when I was growing up, and like we all remember the movie Colors, right? Like that was the gangs. It was the Bloods. It was the Crips. It was this, that, and the other. Once the cartels came in, they essentially said, look, you guys, you want to play this little game, that's fine. We're a different kind, and we will destroy everything about you. Slowly but surely, that kind of gang violence went away, and the drive-bys and things like that, because they were terrified. Because you're dealing with people who live in a world of violence that many of us can't even comprehend. And they're fine with that. The bigger the show, the better the show.
While Memphis and Nashville have confirmed reports of the gang in their cities, Knoxville police say they are unaware of the gang's activities locally. Roush says Trinidad Aragua members were once easily identifiable by their tattoos, but are now changing their appearances to make it more difficult for investigators to know if a criminal is linked to the gang. TBI says it is working with other states to monitor the gang's movements across the U.S.
So they're here. Not so much in Knoxville, but they're here. What do they look like? Well, what they used to be was simple and easy. Just kind of like with MS-13. You knew when you saw MS-13 because they were tatted. Part of the reason they got tats is you're showing loyalty to the gang as much as anything else. But you're in a different place now. So you've got to adapt. And in doing so, they are spreading their wings. And it is a scary situation that we need to pay attention to, because what starts out as something small is growing, and they recognize that their big rival isn't an American gang. It's the cartels. So what do you have to do? You have to be bigger, stronger, badder. That's what happens in the world of the cartels over in Mexico. where you've seen the rise of certain cartels over the Zetas and several others, Nuevo, which is the new one. To arrive and to make yourself known, you have to be huge. And huge in the violence, huge in the statement that you're making. You can't just come in and say, I'm here. You have to be massive in that. And that's the fear is it's going to, land on the streets. And the innocent that aren't involved in the drug trade and the human trafficking are going to get killed. And it's going to cause a mess. And if you don't get ahead of it now, and that's why when you look at Tom Holman, who said, look, we're going after these people and we're going to treat the gangs as terrorist organizations, as we should. The thought process of, well, they're not really, because no, you absolutely should treat them like that. They treat the industry, if you will, that they're in as a business. And in doing so, they use terror as the number one form to get their point across by killings, raping, murdering. So why not treat them as such and go after them as such? We're going to find out what that looks like, because I know everybody's terrified. It's like, oh, the first day that Trump takes over, he's rounding up everybody who's brown. It's not happening. All right? Let's stop with that insanity. But getting rid of criminals, I'm a huge fan of that. Yes, my man.
I'm not sure you want to say that, because I have it on the best of authority. I know people who know people that the first Jewish people that are going into the camps, his daughter, son-in-law, and grandkids.
Oh, that's
it's already
right.
been decided. They're in first.
They're in first. That's right. Because
he hates them,
Well, he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
So
literally Hitler.
So we're going for the Jews first, even though he's a big supporter of Israel, maybe the biggest, strongest supporter of Israel that's ever been in the White House. So the first thing you got to do is show them that you mean business by rounding up everybody who's Jewish.
Yeah, including your daughter and grandkids.
Yes. Well, that's when you show your real business.
That's where you get your bona fides.
That's where you get your bona fides. That's absolutely true. Other big news out there, we've got a new, a nominee for Health and Human Services. And if you guys don't know who he is, he's a Kennedy. He's an anti-vaxxer, and he's pro-pandemic, apparently.
This really isn't about politics, because this is somebody who has been, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing quackery, who has been pushing lies, who has been pushing conspiracy theories. You've been talking to experts in the health community, preparing for him, RFK Jr., to be given some sort of role in health. What have they said to you?
The entire medical and public health communities, in terms of their significant concerns, horror even. Somebody said to me today, I can't think of any single individual who'd be more damaging to public health than RFK.
Well, America, I hope you like measles.
You're not going to see a massive outbreak of measles. It's not happening. He's never once said don't get vaccines. He wants to make vaccines more transparent. Why do we have to take so many? We talked about it last hour. As a kid growing up in the 70s, I got 6 vaccines. Now the schedule takes you to 50 by the time you're 18. What are they? Are they absolutely necessary? Have we done the research? Why is the liability for them virtually none if you're injured compared to other drugs? Why don't we have more rigorous testing? Why aren't we looking at these things in a different way? We should, right? I mean, we talked about last hour. A lady's kid walked down the street a mile and they arrested her for being negligent parent. Yet you're fine with this? Just, we kind of look it up and we kind of do. No, we used to be the gold standard when it comes to certain things. Know this, the reason the rest of the world can have universal health care, in that I'm talking about the free world, is because when Big Daddy has your back, you don't really have to worry so much. And we do. They don't take anywhere near the amount of drugs that we produce every year. And by that, I mean the different kind of drugs. You go to other countries, they take a few of them. Like there may be 20 different drugs for, whatever, ADHD or this, that, and the other. They may only stock 2 or 3 in Australia or throughout Europe. They do a rigorous testing on those. They don't need all this. It's a business here. It's about chasing patents, which is number one. That's why you see stuff like the little blue pill, by the way, was never meant to be the little blue pill. It was a blood pressure medicine that failed. But they couldn't understand why people kept asking for it, even though their blood pressure was not going down and at times was getting worse. But they kept asking, can I get more and more? That's when they found out it works on something else. So there's something that's patentable. There's billions of dollars to get something through the process. But when it comes to vaccines, it's not as stringent. We should want to know what the deal is. I want to know that everything's safe. Do I think it gives kids autism? And I'm not an anti-vaxxer, by the way. I took the COVID vaccine. I wasn't worried. I mean, if you give everybody in America an aspirin or two, somebody's going to have some allergic reactions. I understand that. But I do want to know what we put in our kids. And do we need to give them so much? With our kids, they're on schedule in the sense that they're getting their shots, but we space them out. I don't think they need 8 shots in a day. So there's nothing wrong with that. The fact that they're trying to freak you out is the fact that this is what change looks like. Bureaucracy is going to have real trouble because the likes of Vivek and Elon Musk, but also people that have been in the apparatus of politics, like Robert Kennedy, who don't like the way that this is just one big corporation and that everybody jumps back and forth from private to public, public to private service and makes a ton of money. Unelected bureaucrats? No, it's time. It's time for this to actually be put out there, transparency, that we get to see what has gone on. And I think it's a good thing. I absolutely do. And he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's a bit of a skeptic. But he is fully vaccinated, as is his entire family. So, not anti-vax, a bit of a skeptic and has questions. Are we doing this because it's the right thing and this has been tested right, or are we doing this because it's good business? But he's not a doctor. That's my favorite one. He's not a doctor. The guy who runs Pfizer, he's got an MBA from a college, a veterinarian. I mean, he's a veterinarian. He's got an MBA in business. The guy who runs Johnson & Johnson has no engineering, chemical engineering. He is not a scientist. He's got an MBA from a school in Barcelona, and he's got another master's degree from the Thunderbirds out in Phoenix, Arizona. Also not a doctor, but we're fine with them running that. Why can't he run an agency? Because he's stepping on toes, and that's their fear. A lot of stuff we're going to cram into this hour, including we're going to be giving something away that's very neat. I was just reading it. And now, Belle, are you participating in this? Are you part of would you do this?
No. Absolutely not. Because I would get a bruise and then I would cry.
I don't think you're a cryy kind of guy, but we're going to be doing some of this. We're going to be giving some of this stuff away, and it is the craziest event in Nashville, Armored MMA. So we're going to be doing that here in a little bit. I am Chad Benson, in for Matt Murphy, right here on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Do not waste your time with any other earbuds. When it comes to premium audio, I know it. I work all day long. I'm up about 2 in the morning. I am doing editing. I am working on all kinds of stuff. I wear my Raycons because they're incredible. Fit, feel, second to none. Sound quality, active noise cancellation, a price that will not break the bank. 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life. I can go on. And they cost about a third to a half of other premium audio, which is awesome. They've got tons of different stuff on their website. And right now, save yourself the headache and the hassle and go to buyraycon.com/chat. You're going to get these things, and they're amazing. Charge super fast. They've got that in the new Raycons. They come in this little awesome thing that looks like just a tiny case. Boom. Every 10 minutes, you get 90 minutes of charge. So every 10 minutes you charge it, you get 90 minutes of use, which is amazing. Active noise cancellation, multi-connectivity. You can charge, once you're charged up, you're ready to go. You can be your phone, your computer at the same time, which is great. And 30-day happiness guarantee. 30% savings right now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad for the best earbuds around, the everyday earbuds. Check out everything they've got, though, including the best in headphones for gaming and everything else. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
To know that
A fire on board a Southwest flight. Also, TSU money woes continue. Those stories coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Are you distraught after the recent presidential election? Here at Don't Cry Cryo, we understand your pain, and we're here to help. Our expert team of cryogenic care providers can cryogenically freeze you until the Trump presidency has ended. No more crying, no more anxiety attacks, just blissful sleep until Trump is gone. When you awaken from your slumber, we'll even have a party ready and waiting for you. It will be like his presidency never even happened. It was all just a bad dream.
Oh, man. Do you think this lady could use it?
to know that my family, the people who raised me, voted for a rapist. It's so invalidating, but I'm white. I should not be taking up space because right now the people who have it much worse than I do are people who don't share the same skin color as me, which is so, like, why are we still judging people on that? Race is a social construct that white people created to make themselves feel good about the dehumanization of other people. What the man?
I love the fact that she talks about race, Belle, saying, why are we talking about race while talking about race?
That's not real, right? That was sarcasm.
No, that's real, man. That's all real.
That hurts. That physically hurts me.
That is just, you want to look at her and go, honey, I understand your pain, but you're a moron.
Yeah, well, exactly. How do, I've wondered, I mean, I've got, like, two of my best friends in the world are super liberal. We grew up together. I would never, ever decide a friendship based on politics. We have 99% of the things we agree on. But even they, who are living in the liberalist place in America, up in Berkeley and in Southern California, find this insanity that is going on there just hilarious. And people crying. I saw somebody tattooed "Not my effing president" about Trump on their body, which, what are you doing? You are mentally unstable. Do you understand how bad you have it mentally? Because you are working in this situation where you believe something is going to happen that is so horrific because you bought into the media, which has yet to apologize to their listeners, to their customers, as you will, to their viewers. They've yet to apologize and say, you know what? Maybe we went a step too far. But Chad, he's a fascist. If he's truly a fascist, if he's truly a Nazi, if he's truly all of those things, why did Biden meet with him this week? Because he's not those things. He's not. I watched, there's a great, on YouTube, which, again, the media freaks out about, Cenk from the Young Turks, who I've sparred with on a few occasions, and I'm talking about fights. He was on with trigonometry. If you've never seen these two guys, these guys are great. There's, one's a Russian Brit and the other one's just a Brit. And they kept telling him, dude, tell us the part of fascism that you see. Tell us that part that you see where he's rounding people. Tell us that part. And every time you try to answer it with something that had to do with nothing, and they kept saying, where is it? Because it's not there. It's used to scare people. And you've got young, vulnerable minds who really aren't the sharpest, who in their mind are already in a kitchen producing babies like The Handmaid's Tale. And I think that's abuse. You're abusing people because you're telling them that this is going to happen. And it's not. And the hubris, by the way, too, to believe that this administration is coming for you is also hilarious. Oh, my Lord. We got more on that. There was a lady, speaking of abuse and insanity, she threatened to fight everybody who was a Trump supporter, kept saying, come at me, bro, that kind of thing. Well, she's also a teacher, and that did not go well. We're going to talk about that because repercussions, as we all know, repercussions, plus a little bit of Alex Jones because, well, Alex Jones. It's interesting what's happening with him. First, he's off the air. Then he's on the air. By the way, he's never going anywhere that there's X. But again, he's very dramatic. We'll talk about that as well. Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy, Super Talk 99.7.
Oh, we got to do the giveaway.
Oh, we're doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I myself would not participate in this because I'm not insane. But if you like violence, and many of you do, you're going to win tickets right now. 2024 Medieval Cage Fighting Championship, Saturday, November 16th. That's tomorrow. Am I correct? Yes. The Armored MMA in Nashville. So this event, now did Chris got to swing it and hit some, what was it?
Oh, yeah. He had one of the guys in who brought his actual armor that he wears during the event, and he put the chest plate on and let Chris take a legit swing at him with a mace.
Oh, my Lord. So it's medieval cage fighting because, yes, that's where we've come to now. It's the best armored fighters in the world. Is there a lot? Do we have a lot to choose from? It's like if I showed up tomorrow night, they put me in armor, they might be like, you're one of the best armored fighters in the world. I don't know. It is the MMA with weapons and armor. Saturday, November 16th, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. What color should we do?
9 and 10. We got 2 pairs to get.
9 and 10, you're on your way to go see people try to kill each other medieval style. From your good friends here at Super Talk 99.7.
It's 1:30. I'm Jeff Malinoff with your top stories. That full forecast coming your way in 5 minutes. A financial crisis continues today at TSU, where an action plan has been implemented to keep the doors open, including trimming the workforce. 114 people have been laid off. Here's Channel 4's Drayden Quigley with more.
The school says they're in this situation partially because the former president boosted enrollment by giving out scholarships that they weren't in the financial situation to give.
The state would like the school to sell off its Avon building in downtown Nashville. That's mostly worth about $40 to $50 million.
That is extensive property in the heart of downtown Nashville, and it is very, very valuable property. I know there are multiple developers that would like to purchase that property.
That's State Comptroller Jason Mumpower. Staying in Nashville, a Tennessee teacher is facing charges and a suspension after he allegedly threatened 14 students. Crossville police arrested 56-year-old James Green yesterday morning at Stone Memorial High School. It comes after a parent told a school resource officer that Green had threatened a classroom full of students the day before. Green has been suspended in order to stay away from the school. A fire on board a Southwest Airlines plane today during boarding in Denver. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
108 passengers were on board Southwest Flight 3316 getting ready to leave Denver for Houston when a cell phone battery caught fire. Southwest says a plane was at the gate. Passengers in the front walked out through the front door and jet bridge. In the back, they used emergency slides to get out. The crew extinguished a seat fire caused by the burning cell phone. One passenger had minor injuries while evacuating, and the passenger whose phone caught fire had burns. The FAA says it will investigate. Alex Stone, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jeff Malinoff, WTN News.
All right, Bell, we got some winners. We're going to send some people to watch other people kill each other, kind of, but not really.
Well, not really, but yeah, we got Brian Bottoms and Chris Jenkins. They both won.
All right.
2 pair of tickets to see Armored MMA at Municipal tomorrow.
I was talking to Chris about this, because Idiocracy is, if you've not seen that movie, I advise everybody to go see that movie. And, the movie is about the fact that it's a couple hundred years in the future, and these two people, Maya Rudolph and Luke Wilson, wake up. They were in cryogenically frozen. Something happens. They wake up in the future, and the smart people had stopped reproducing. And so it's a hilarious movie. But, as we talk about this MMA with chains and whatnot, we've got the slap. Have you seen the slap fights where the pancray or whatever it's called, where they slap?
Mm-mm.
So they stand, like, how they have the arm wrestling?
Right.
Well, they stand there, and one guy stands there, and the other guy slaps.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that, yeah.
They now have a kick in the grundle one, where you're in a ring, and somebody stands there, and they kick you in the balls.
I'm going to take a pass on that one.
That's where we are. I just want everybody to understand.
And while we're discussing it, I'm going to take a pass on the slap and the arm wrestling also.
The slap one's scary, man, because those guys are out cold, man. Their eyes roll back. It's creepy. And that's the UFC. That's Dana White's thing.
I didn't really come to this for a sporting event. I was just looking for a concussion.
That's basically what it is. Good God. What is wrong with us? You guys can check me out. I'm on X/Twitter. A lot of people are moving off of it. Celebrities are leaving in droves, as well as the news folks and whatnot.
Some name personalities on the left, they are exiting Elon Musk's platform, looking for greener pastures. There's something called Blue Sky. Have you ever heard of Blue Sky? I'd never heard of Blue Sky.
It's a rash of Twitter exits. Jamie Lee Curtis quit. Bette Midler deleted her account. The Guardian, the paper, left X. It's absolutely delightful to see them run.
They'll be back because now I'm on Blue Sky. I signed up today because my goal was, because it's a kinder, gentler kind of thing. The Blue Sky. First of all, looks just like Twitter, because Ken Dorsey, who started Twitter, was like an early, seed capital, I think, and came up with something. So it looks just like it. And what you're supposed to be able to do is all the things you used to do on Twitter, but with some things where, let's just say you're mentioned in a tweet or a Blue Sky or whatever it is, and you don't like that and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you can take yourself out of that. It's got all kinds of rules and regulations. It's basically left Twitter. So I joined it because my goal was, I'm just going to stream Alex Jones the entire time to see how long that lasts, because I think that would be hilarious. But a lot of people are leaving. And like Joy Reid, who is the worst. I think we can all agree on that. She left Twitter, and I thought to myself, okay, Twitter is hilarious. It's also toxic at times. I'm not going to pretend it's not. And I bet for her, the toxicity is, as much as she is toxic, the comments for her, I could see why she's left. But they'll all come back eventually, because there's nobody over there on Blue Sky. There's only 15 million people. Which, by the way, I mean, I don't know what Twitter has today, but it's probably closer to 300 or 400, which is nothing compared to TikTok and everything else. But other people are leaving because of the rules and regs, right, that changed as of today.
This Friday, November 15th, X is implementing new terms of service, which, among other things, states that, quote, all disputes be brought exclusively in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas or state courts located in Tarrant County, Texas. This, quote, ensures that such lawsuits will be heard in courthouses that are a hub for conservatives, which experts say could make it easier for X to shield itself from litigation and punish critics. I think that speaks for itself.
Take care.
Megyn Kelly. Take care. Bye-bye. Like, who's suing you? That's just, they're all trying to come up with an excuse. The excuse is you lost. Things haven't gone well for you. You're pissed off and angry. It's a toxic place because there's people that challenge you in every way, shape, or form when it comes to your beliefs and the BS that you spew. And so you leave. That's a thing. Fine. Knock yourself out. But where are you going to go? Because the beauty of Twitter is news breaks there. People head there. Citizen journalists. You find more information out there. And I will say, there is stuff that's toxic on there. For those of you who don't know that, yes, there is a bunch of stuff. There's also a bunch of BS on there as well. But as an adult, I'll handle that myself. But going somewhere else where you get into an echo chamber and you will not have conversations with other people that have a differing belief, that ain't going to help you. And going somewhere where there is no breaking news, there is nobody coming to you, that's not good either. So how long will it last? Probably not as long as people like to think. It'll be, well, I was just taking a break. That's what it'll be. You remember this lady?
People of color and poor people and gay people and all the people that I care about aren't going to be safe in America. Neither the are you guys. Just because you won doesn't mean we don't remember who the you voted for. You're not in the clear. Please don't test your gangster on me, because you will end on a stretcher, gone forever.
You guys cool? Nobody's going to test your gangster? Anybody?
And she looks real gangster, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah, she's about as mighty white as you get. She's a teacher.
Sad.
You don't. Okay, let's see if this rings a bell.
So serious. Nobody talk to me unless you want to swing. If you want to fight,
throw
text
hands.
me, call me, whatever. Anybody else, stay the out of my face. And if you voted for Trump, literally, please delete me, block me, get rid of everything of me, or step to me so that I know what's up and I can handle you how I see fit. Please just come forward. We know. Just tell me or leave. Please, the door.
Okay, there you go. So, she's a teacher. Excuse me, she was a teacher. Her name is Annie Dunleavy, teacher in Connecticut. And she's been called to the carpet for this. She went on a local television station there to plead her case.
It sounds very extreme. And again, I was in a moment of high emotions and I shouldn't have ever posted the video. But the message I was trying to get across, and it came off very wrong, was, if this is going to give people the almost permission in their minds to enact violence against women or anybody, I wanted to basically just say, I'm not going to go down without a fight.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the hell you're talking about, because at no point was Trump wins and guys are like, well, now that he's won, I can go out and start just capturing women and beating them whenever I want, right? Like, it's just, hey, it's the new OJ. None of that is real. None of that is real. And as I said, she's a teacher and she's not thrilled by the situation because, well, when you're threatening to fight people and do horrible things to them, chances are, as a teacher, there's probably a few kids in your class, even if it's Connecticut, whose parents may have voted for Trump.
I mean, it's my life's dream to be a teacher. I consider those kids my kids because I don't have any of my own. And they fill that for me. And it's so fulfilling. It's so rewarding. And I know that what people see right now, I don't look like that person, but I truly would do anything to help any child and any family in need.
What about a Trump supporter? Would you help them? Probably not. So she's out of her job. They, of course, sent out this. That's what we do now, this big mea culpa, like from the school. Like, school's like, we do not condone it. Of course, nobody expects you to. Nobody expects you to condone any of that. But it goes back to this. What were you thinking? Well, I was emotional. Okay. Why is it when you're emotional, the first thing you think to do is to grab your phone and to put your emotions out there, knowing full well there would be some repercussion? There has to be. There absolutely has to be. You can't threaten to fight people and beat people up or to do horrible things to people. You're not a boxer. You're not MMA. You're not a star. You're a teacher in preschool. or a Montessori school or one of these. It boggles the mind, but it also shows you how insane so many of these people are. And I'm sure, I don't know if Matt talked about it this week, Bell, the California teacher that lost his mind, that is...
The one that went nuts in the classroom in front of his kids.
That wasn't even... That was abuse. That was psychological abuse to children. And he said the same thing. I'm emotional. Okay. Emotional. I get it. We've all been emotional. But you weren't just emotional. You were way over the line. You weren't just emotional in the sense that you were upset about something and you wanted to air some of your grievances in an area that you should never have done it in front of your kids. You crossed the line with the kids were scared. Parents are not thrilled. By the way, and in California, the chances of firing the guy are slim to none. And they walked out too, by the way. 1,200 kids walked out. But he was only one of 3 different teachers in that district to do that because they thought that was the right thing to do. It just temper your emotions, people. You want to know why we all make fun of you? Because you're insane. Because you've lost the plot. Because you live in this imaginary world that somehow some monster's living under your bed and going to signal every male in America to do whatever they want whenever they want, which is not true. But you're around children, and that right there alone shows me you do not have what it takes to be trusted. Interesting and uncomfortable indeed. We're going to talk a little boxing. Speaking of somebody unstable, Mike Tyson fighting tonight, although he's a little bit more stable than he used to be. We're going to talk about that. What does it look like? How much are they going to make? Where can you watch it? 58-year-old versus 27-year-old. A troll versus Mike Tyson. That's probably the best way to describe that. I'm Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy right here on Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, you guys, I'm obviously new to you, and you're like, who is this character? Well, this is a person here who loves his animals, and my dogs in particular, I'm very close with. This stuff is amazing. It's a supplement you put on top of your dog's food. Like we all like supplements. We all want to be healthy. This is for your dog and your cat. They have Meow Greens now, and they have Rough Greens. It's a living supplement. It's got enzymes in it. So you really have to seal this up because this is going to help bring your dog and cat's food to life. Dog food is dead food. Brown, not healthy. Green is. And this is going to help your dog. It helped our older dog, Doodle. It gave him an extra 4 or 5 years of his life that was just incredible. And it helped him because he had really bad hips, and we thought we were going to have to put him down. We didn't have to. He continued living his best little life, and it was awesome. And we only made one change. We did this. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's incredible. I want you to try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. You go to roughgreens.com/Chad. Use my code. When you do, they're going to send you out a Jumpstart trial bag. It's a $20 value. You're going to get it for free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Try it. Don't change a thing with the food. Just sprinkle this on top of it and watch what happens. Your dog's going to be healthy and happy. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad.
A $100 million lawsuit regarding the death of Malcolm X. Also, continued support for President Donald Trump to dismantle the Department of Education. Those stories coming up at 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mike Tyson squaring off against Jake Paul, the 58-year-old Tyson slapping the 27-year-old YouTuber turned boxer at weigh-in. Despite a 31-year age gap and being a major underdog, sportsbooks report 90% of all bets are being placed on the Hall of Famer Tyson. The most popular bet? Tyson winning in the first round. Paul is betting big on himself, taking multiple million-dollar bets from fellow fighters, even staking his claimed $40 million payout.
$40 million for the both of them. It is not on pay-per-view. So if you have Netflix tonight, you want to watch it, I think it starts at 7 o'clock our time. There's an undercard. It's at AT&T Stadium. That's the house that Jarrah built where the Dallas Cowboys play. They're really, really bad. And it is 8 rounds, 2-minute rounds, 14-ounce gloves instead of 10. Who you got, Bill?
I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't judge him based on his history because he's much older now, but if we see any of the Tyson we know, it's going to be one round and it's over.
You know,
how many people did he knock out with one punch in the first round?
You know, last night they had the top 5 knockouts on something, and it was amazing to watch him just destroy like Spinks and all of these guys.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. You see when he talked about to that guy about voting for Trump? What are you going to do about it? I'm voting for Trump. Nothing. I'm going to disagree. Yeah, but what are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing, Mike, because you're insane, and that's why we like you. I think, though, first of all, this kid is a freak athlete. He is a big wrestler, great at UFC. He's grappled him and his brother for years, and he takes boxing seriously. I think the longer it goes, the more he has a chance of winning a decision. But, again, they're 2-minute rounds. So that gives Mike an advantage. If Mike connects, we'll see what it's like. Because I'll tell you what, he threw that slap yesterday, and that kid didn't move. I don't know if that's good or bad that he can take a little bit of a slap, but it ain't going to be a slap tonight. I'm Chad Benson in for the one and only Matt Murphy. Will be here in about an hour right here on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm Jeff Malinoff with your top stories. The full forecast coming your way in about 5 minutes. More support for President-elect Donald Trump's plan to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. It comes from Tennessee State Representative Scott Sapicki, who tells Dan Manis on his show.
Already been having conversations with my colleagues. We are very excited about the opportunity that President Trump may present to all 50 states to give us the autonomy and freedom to figure out how we can educate our Tennessee students in a way that is even more successful than we have been in the past.
Trump's plan fits together with Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's new school choice bill that would award 20,000 scholarships for school choice vouchers next year. A new focus on the death of Malcolm X ahead of a series of planned events across the country next year, marking what would have been his 100th birthday in May. One of the daughters of Malcolm X and the family's legal team announcing a $100 million lawsuit against the U.S. government today at the memorial site in Manhattan where Malcolm X was fatally shot while speaking in 1965. During a news conference this morning, Malcolm X's daughter and her attorneys saying that the new evidence will prove that the NYPD, FBI, and CIA conspired to assassinate Malcolm X.
We seek justice for the assassination of our father and that the truth will be recorded in history.
Money news. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. After last week's bounce into record territory, stocks are poised for losses this week. The Dow this morning was down 276 points, while the Nasdaq was off 1.8%. The S&P had given up 1%. Plenty of Americans have gotten a jump on holiday shopping, but the National Retail Federation is expecting a record number to be out looking for deals soon. Its new survey suggests over 183 million people will go shopping between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday. Ford has been hit with the second biggest fine ever from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The car maker has to pay up to $165 million for moving too slowly on a recall connected to faulty backup cameras. The latest work stoppage is at the Virgin Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The Culinary Workers Union, the largest labor union in Nevada with 60,000 members, calls Virgin's latest contract offer an insult. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
The market right now, all three are down. Down is down to 0.75%. S&P 500 is down 1.5%, and NASDAQ is down 2.5%. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jeff Malinoff, WTN News.
I believe they're here. They're called aliens. And I'm not talking about the ones that wandered across the border. I'm talking about the star ones, the ones came from different parts of the universe. What do you think there, Bell? You're looking.
Well, we can ask Tim Burchett about it when he calls us on Monday at 1:30.
I'm excited about that. I am so excited because I believe something's happening. Now, what it is, I couldn't tell you. Is it Little Green Man? That's what everybody wants to go. It's always about Little Green Man. I don't think it's Little Green Man. Could it be us from the future? Different dimension? That's a possibility, right? The more that we look at stuff scientifically, the more that there's a possibility there are other dimensions. Okay. But this week they had a hearing, an actual hearing on Capitol Hill because it's just too much to explain. Pentagon, by the way, came out today and said, look, as much as they give you, right? They give you, baby birds, they give you a little taste, but that's it. And what they did say is, out of all of the stuff they've talked about so far, there are 21 anomalies, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, that they cannot explain through nature or science. And obviously, the most famous is the Tic Tac over San Diego, 2004. If you've not seen that one, it's probably the most famous. So You had our fighter planes up there, and there is something about 40,000 feet above the surface of Earth. Our fighter pilots hone in on it, and the next second, they are 5 feet off the surface of the ocean. If a human being was in that position, you would essentially liquefy because of the G's. You would just come apart. So the question I ask everybody is, would you rather it be people from another dimension, or would you rather it be our adversaries? I myself think, look, no matter what it is, we've got to pay attention. This is Lou Elizondo. He has been kind of spearheading all of this. At one time, he led the UAP investigations for the Pentagon that didn't exist, but then did exist. And, you know, he is, look, we need to know this as Americans, as human beings on this planet. Hell yeah, we need to know.
Chris, I think this was really a historic day for both Congress and for the American people. I think it was a win-win. This is now the second hearing on this topic that's been open to the public. Hopefully, the public is now getting an understanding of how long our government has actually been involved in this topic, despite decades of denial.
And there's been lots of denial. And I expect denial, because some of the stuff that we are denying or pushing off is stuff that's ours. We don't want people to know on the other side of the world, who may one day be adversarial to us, what we exactly have, right? That's something we don't want. We don't want to do any of that stuff. But here's another question. What would that do to humanity if there was different dimension, aliens, angels, whatever you want to call it? What would that do to humanity? How do you break that to a planet that maybe isn't ready for a lot of things? That's a really interesting question. Michael Schellenberg was also there. He's part of the Twitter Files case. He's a journalist, and he is a guy who is been on top of it, and people go to him because they feel they can trust him.
I think that what the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount of visual and other information, still photos, video photos, other sensor information, and they have for a very long time. And it's not those fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear high resolution.
How many visuals, graphics, videos, photos?
I mean, I've been told hundreds, maybe thousands.
Do you believe, though? Because I just find it virtually impossible to think that we're it. I think the hubris of thinking we're the only ones. Now, how somebody gets here, again, it goes back to the technology side of stuff. Maybe they're millions of years more advanced than we are, so they're able to move through, whether it's time, space, dimensions in ways that we don't know, because we couldn't even comprehend that. And I think what people want is, we're at this point now because information is so readily available through everything, that hiding stuff is becoming harder and harder. And I've always thought to myself with Donald Trump, the day that he was sworn in last time, everybody in the Pentagon and everywhere else said, all right, here's the deal. We tell them there is no aliens, because the first thing he would tell the world is there's aliens. And he said it's the most asked question he gets is there aliens? Or other dimensional beings. And I just want somebody to come out. All right, yes, there is, guys, there is. All right, how do you guys think we got the microwave? All right?
Do you think the number 2 most asked question is who killed Kennedy?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's not who killed Kennedy. It's how was America involved in Kennedy. Because I think if everything, we're involved. You're not redacting things. Everybody that was an adult back then is probably dead. So who are you hiding? What are you hiding? Well, you're hiding some sort of involvement. The same thing here. We've got stuff of some. There's too many people that are above reproach when it comes to who they are and the kind of person they are. Back in the old days, I don't know if you guys know this, the CIA used to have, it's called nut picking. If they wanted to bury a story, if there's 20 people in a room, and they saw something, you go over to the guy that's missing 3 teeth, right? and his eyes are cross-eyed, and you put him on television because anything he says will be completely discounted. So that's who you go for. Well, when you're talking to pilots in the Navy, when you're talking to pilots who are the top of their game, when you're talking to airline pilots who are fighter pilots, now they're airline pilots, when you're talking to people that are, again, we're not questioning whether or not they're sane. And they're telling you, this is what I saw.
I also reported on a pretty stunning description of orbs, one orb coming out of the ocean about 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait, being joined by another orb. High-definition video shot from a helicopter, not any sort of top-secret technology filming that. So I just think there's a lot of people that have come forward now at this point that this is not just folklore. The Pentagon is clearly covering something up.
Some of it might be our stuff. Some of it might be drones that are so advanced that we have just, it's crazy. And some of it might be stuff from other places. And the thing I worry about is if the other places are other countries, well, their stuff is so advanced that it's kind of scary. If it's from a different dimension, which is, or space or, some other solar system, okay, well, let's, are they friendly? Was that great episode of Twilight Zone, To Serve Man? Do you remember that one? And that's where the aliens come down. So the aliens are down here, and we find out they're aliens, and they're at the UN, and the whole goal is to serve man. So they think that as they take all the humans back to their planet, everybody thinks they're here to serve us, to give us things, to teach us, when really it's a cookbook that they have, and they're going to serve you. Well, I'd like to know if it's that too. And are they here? I think Elon's an alien. I've always kind of thought he's a bit alien-esque. Like, if there was one person you go, that guy's an alien, it's Elon. I don't think he's quite like lizard person, but could I see him alienish?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I'm just richest person in the world, African-American. What are you going to do?
He is African-American. I had a buddy, his name is Sotero Diaz. He was born and raised in South Africa, and he had a court date. And we went. I took him because he has had a suspended license. So we went, and he
Is this here or in South Africa?
No, this is actually here.
Oh, okay.
He put on his thing African American, and he's arguing with the judge. He's got the South African accent, and he's telling he's like, no, that person's African American. He goes, no, that person's black. And he goes, have you ever been to Africa? And the guy's like, no. He goes, well, how is he African American? I was born in Africa. Yeah. Oh, goodness me. If it isn't for the insanity of the world.
The pushback is they're no little green men. They don't have a spaceship from outside our solar system. All of these types of videos that I'm showing right now can be explained. Well, then what are they finding?
I think it's important to know that we have absolutely been able to confirm the existence of some sort of technology that has the ability to operate with anonymity within our controlled U.S. airspace, operate over our sensitive military installations, and possibly interfere with our nuclear equities. Now, if that's not a national security concern, I don't know what is.
I agree. And that's why I said I would rather it be aliens than North Korea, Russia, or China. I'd rather it be aliens than adversarial to the point where if they wanted to end us, they could. Because at least we know, like with China, we know they would like to take over everything. With North Korea, we know they would like that. With Russia, we know. Well, we know it's not Russia because look at what's going on over there. China? No. Because if it's any of those, they would have used the opportunity to do it. Unless we have stuff too, which is what most people don't realize. It's not the stuff that we use in the field. It's the stuff that you don't know we have that keeps the other nations up at night. Oh.
Since the early 1950s, we've been dealing with this issue. And when I say dealing with this issue, I'm talking about objects that still to this day can operate beyond any type of performance characteristics of our modern aircraft. So one were to say, well, maybe this is Russia or China today, okay, but that doesn't explain the 1950s and 60s where these aircraft were captured on radar doing 10,000, 13,000 miles an hour. Okay, what we have in comparison pales.
Yeah, Lou Elizondo, who has been leading this. And the other thing that was interesting, and I touched on it earlier from one of my other shows, is They all did this under oath, which is a big deal. The under oath thing, because Congress is fine lying to us. They don't like to be lied to. And when you go under oath, you are saying that not only do I believe this, I back this up to the point where if you feel that I am lying, you have the opportunity to come after me. There will be repercussions for my actions and my lies. Would it be the biggest story in human history? I think, how could it not be? Like, if aliens are here, how could it not be? I wonder, though, what does it do for religion? I'm a believer in Christ, a follower of Christ. What does it do for religion? How would people approach that? Are there parts in the Bible that say there's nobody else here? I also find it hubris that God's like, all right, we're going to start with these ones and let's see how they go. Maybe he said, I've already done this before elsewhere. They're really doing well. We're going to try this one. And if it doesn't work, well, the Earth is, at this point in time, the trailer park of the universe. That's what I'm saying, right? That's why they kind of come and observe. Like, all of us are kind of interested in wacky stuff that happens at a trailer park, but we don't want to live there. And we're kind of the trailer park of the universe. Just a smidge. A smidge. Oh, man. Coming up, some fun stuff, some wacky stuff, crazy stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the fear that is going on throughout D.C. over the fact that RFK Jr. is going to be potentially Health and Human Services Director, which is terrifying the establishment in government, which is a good thing. Absolutely a good thing. And how the battle is already on to disqualify everybody that Trump puts out there outside of Marco Rubio and Doug Burgum for Interior Director or whatever that is. I'm not even sure what that does, but we'll look that up just to get like everybody know, because, they're fine. They're part of somewhat of the establishment. So this will be interesting. Talk about that, bunch of other stuff. Lincoln Riley, the trial starts today with her murderer. What's the latest there? And yes, more on maybe aliens. And I'm going to give you my prediction for the fight tonight, because there is a fight tonight between a young kid, 27 years old. They call him the problem child, Jake Paul, and Mike Tyson. Iron Mike, 38 years old. So we'll talk about that as well. It is Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy, Super Talk 99.7. Omaha Steaks, delicious, amazing, incredible. My wife, yesterday, she took out the Omaha Steaks we had, but she took out the chicken breast, and then she brined it. She did all the stuff, and then she made a chicken pot pie. It was the most amazing thing in the world. Omaha Steaks is the gift that keeps on giving and makes people smile. And right now, when you use my code Benson, you're going to save massive. They make incredible gifts for Christmas, for Hanukkah, just because. And I'm talking about the best steaks around. 100% unconditional money-back guarantee on everything. For the entrees, steaks, you name it, it is backed. 5 generations of family that have built this up. And if you've never had an Omaha Steaks, the burger's incredible. The tops are really incredible. You name it, they have got it. The burgers, I love. The hot dogs. My daughter doesn't like eating anything. She lives for the hot dogs. So they got the classic favorite collection, and it's 22 items. Are you ready for this? You're going to get 18-ounce package of fully cooked meatballs, and they're amazing. The deluxe gift that comes with free burgers and free shipping, 26 total items in there, butcher cut top sirloins. Now, here's the thing. You go to omahasteaks.com today. You're going to get 50% off right there. Top of that, just for listening and using my code Benson, you're going to get an extra $30 off with that, and you're going to get a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off, OMAHA steaks.com, and take off another $30 when you use my code Benson. And if you act now, you'll get an extra $30 gift card as well. Minimum purchase may apply.
Family of a TV star claims she's missing, but police say she is not. Also, House Speaker Mike Johnson speaks on the Matt Gaetz and his Ethics Committee investigation. We'll have those stories and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, the Matt Gaetz thing, I'm not thrilled by that. I'll be 100% honest with you. I am not a fan of Matt Gaetz. I think my issue with him is he's more interested in being a celebrity and a kiss up at times. And I know a lot of people. I was talking to Chris. Chris really likes him. I did a thing with him where we went down to Yuma on the border. And I spent a couple days with him. I thought this is enough. And, you know, when I talk to friends I know in Congress on both sides of the aisle, to say, you know, like Trey Gowdy said, I think the more you learn about Tulsi, the more you're going to like her. The more you know about Matt, the less you're going to like him. And I get why Trump's doing it, right? I have an understanding. But that being said, you know, and this is what I tell everybody, the beauty of the country we live in and the fact that, look, I could support Trump, but not everything he's going to do is 100%. Now, there's some method behind the madness, but Trump wants people that are loyal. And what I've been told is the reason he went with Matt, yes, loyalty is a part of it, but there were several other people that he interviewed, and they were talking about things like, these are crazy things, the Constitution, law, the reverence for law in the Constitution. Matt basically said, I'm going to go in there and blank off heads. And Trump's like, yeah, I like that. So he went with this guy. Now, I don't think he'll be confirmed if they had to go through the process. But the recess appointments, and I'm sure you guys have gone over it again, but essentially a recess appointment is they go on recess, which as a kid was the greatest thing in the world. That's what I majored in recess, right? Who didn't? Like, you'd sit there and go, oh, my God. 32 minutes till I got to go play kickball. We're having a great game, and it was ruined by the bell. So this is when they're not there. They're out on recess, meaning they're not participating in any Senate stuff. The president can look around and go, well, I need this. So he appoints somebody, and that person will serve without having to go to the confirmation process all the way up through till the next election. So whether that's a midterm or whatever it is. So he could do that. I don't think he'd get through. I don't. I think RFK would. I know Marco Rubio's going to. I think if you put 70 Democrats, most of them know Marco, and they like who he is, and I don't think that would be a big deal. So I think, you know, we're talking about Doug Burgum. Of course, I think he's going to be fine. But Matt Gaetz, I'm just, you know, I mean, there's something about him. And when I hung out with him, he was arrogant. He was pompous. He was a lot of the things. And it's just, for me, I look at it and I think, okay, I want people that are going to clean house. And I want people that will step on some toes. That's the RFK thing. I've got no problem with that. I don't want people going in there with a vengeance. And I feel like that's part of his thing. He wants to go in there with a certain vengeance. And I understand, you know, what happened with Jeff Sessions last time and allowing all these things to go through. And he felt like there wasn't any loyalty. But going in there for the sake of breaking things rather than trying to fix them. I look at somebody like RFK Jr. I think he understands how broken everything is, and he wants to fix it. He understands how inefficient he is. I don't think he's going in there with malice. And I feel like Gaetz is going in there strictly for Trump. And one of the funny things, so stop me if you've heard this one before. So we're down there, right? So it's Andy Biggs. He's a big MAGA guy. And this is just when Trump has only been in office for a year or so. We're down there on the border and in Yuma. And, you know, Matt's got a lot of things to say about some of the people coming over. There is a bridge, and this is a tiny bridge, and we're all heading back. Some of the people are staying. And as we're walking back, Matt Gaetz is sitting there, and there's a lady from like Honduras or, you know, somewhere like that. She's got a baby in her arms. She's got a 4-year-old. She's trying to surrender to Matt Gaetz because she thinks, you know, he's the guy you surrender to. And we're like, that's the wrong guy. Of all the people to surrender to, not that guy. And I'm sure some of you are like, I love Matt. Why do you love him? That's my thing. Why? Is it because he's this great champion of stuff, or is it because you like the fact that he picks fight and says things that you like? So it'll be interesting. But I do think that most of his people are going to be confirmed without the recess appointments. But Obama had to use them. Bush had to use a ton of them. Clinton had to use even more than that. So it's not like this is unheard of. So we'll see what takes place. More good stuff coming on the way. Little Alex Jones. What's happening with him? If you follow anything with Alex, he's a very interesting character to say the least. But what is going on with him? And it gets back to the free speech in America and censorship. Talk a bit about that, plus a bunch of other stuff. And I will be giving you my fight prediction tonight. I could be wrong, but I'm going to throw it out there because Mike Tyson takes on Jake Paul tonight on Netflix. Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy, who I just saw wandering around out there. It is Super Talk 99.7.
It's 2:30. I'm Jeff Malinoff with your top stories. That full forecast coming your way in about 5 minutes. A former Gossip Girl and Blue Bloods actress who her family said was missing, but police said she is not missing. ABC's Alex Stone reports from L.A.
All week, the family of actress Chanel Banks has claimed she is missing, but the LAPD has said no, she is confirmed fine in Texas. The family hasn't believed police. Banks has posted on social media that she purposely disappeared to get away from her abusive family and is fine, posting this on Instagram on Thursday night.
I am alive.
Her cousin on Friday saying they now have proof beyond what police have said that she is alive.
She is alive, but I can't tell you that she is well.
The family contends that maybe she's being controlled by a church. Alex Stone, ABC News.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he doesn't think the House Ethics Committee should release the findings of its investigation into Florida Republican Matt Gaetz because he's no longer a member of Congress. Gaetz resigned this week after President-elect Trump nominated him for Attorney General. The House Ethics Committee was investigating Gaetz over allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, though, telling reporters that he believes that the House Ethics Committee should not release the report because, in his view, it would break precedent because the committee doesn't have jurisdiction is the word Johnson used, over a member of Congress if they're no longer a member of Congress anymore. He says they have jurisdiction in investigating Gaetz when he was in the House, but because he's no longer in the House, the committee has to wash its hands of all of this and not turn over the report.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jeff Malinoff, WTN News.
Lincoln Riley was murdered. Trial got underway today, and it's a horrible situation. Anybody murdered, it's awful. Prime of your life. Somebody who shouldn't have been in this country, which became a giant hot topic for illegal immigration, as it should. And it's, you know, I've got daughters, and do I worry about this stuff? You know, people, no, I don't. Like we were talking earlier today, where they arrested a woman in Georgia. She let her kid go outside. That being said, these conversations we have to have in this country about immigration, and we can't have it if we're not willing to be honest over the fact that we've allowed God knows how many people in from all over the world. I mean, realistically, 15, 20? How many people do you think are honestly here? I think that if we really knew how many people would here, I think that even the staunchest open border person would be like, we should probably build a wall and not let this happen. But this is going to be front and center. And this was a big thing on the campaign trail.
The prosecution told the judge, and painting this picture to the judge, saying that Jose Ibarra had this all planned out, right? They say that he essentially went hunting for women to sexually assault at UGA back in February and then found Lincoln Riley on her morning jog. It was routine for her, brutally beat her to death.
Just vile and disgusting the way it happened. She managed to call 911 too while the attack was going on. Interesting thing, no jury.
This is not a jury trial. It's what we call a bench trial. So going to be a little bit different. So rather than having your prosecution, your counsel, your defense present evidence to a jury, a panel here, there's going to be fewer formalities with the bench trial because the judge here is the sole fact finder. He knows the law. And with that said, there's a chance that this case could even move a little bit quicker than what we would normally see.
Everybody wants justice. And the beauty of America is this guy's going to face not a jury, but a judge and have the opportunity at justice. But it also brings up the conversation again of illegal immigration. And the left wants to pretend like, well, it's not as bad as you think it is, or not everybody's. No, I never once said anybody was bad. And the whole thought process that people are going to be rounded up and day one, they're going to be, that isn't going to happen. Now, is it going to happen in some places? Yes. Are they going to go after the baddest of the bad at first? Absolutely. Should they be going after the gangs, the cartels, the people that are here illegally that have committed crimes in other countries, and they've come here on several occasions, been deported back and forth, and they've committed crimes here? Yes, those are the people you go out with. Also the people that have orders to be removed because they went through the process. And they were told, you've got to leave. And what happens? They don't, because there's no fear in that. But when you have stories like this, even one, you know, it's funny when you talk about like the whole thought of, well, it's only one. They don't really commit crimes. You know, you hear this false narrative of, you know, they don't commit crimes as much as people that are here, born and raised here. And I'm like, actually, that doesn't bear out the way you think it does. There's no reporting of crimes, because if I'm a person that's not supposed to be here and another person that's not supposed to be here has decided to commit a crime, I'm not calling the authorities for fear of what may come. So there's that. Oh, yeah. Crazy, right? You can tweet at me at Chad Benson Show. Talking earlier about RFK Jr., watching people freak out over the fact that he's going to be the Health and Humans Secretary. So he's going to look over the NIH and all of the, you know, all of the bodies, CDC, the FDA, all of these things. And the fear factor that people have in the change that's coming. And even people that work in there, like, look, it's not perfect.
When I hear him say, let's reduce the influence of private corporations in government health decisions, I think that's absolutely terrific. You know, the next time the school lunch program is up for reauthorization, let's make sure that big business doesn't have a role in terms of what foods are included there.
I'm okay with that. But why do we have to feed every child? Why do we ever ask that question? Like, we have to feed every kid. And already Lunchables this week says, all right, we're done. We're not going to be lunching a bowl anymore because this guy's not going to like it.
I practiced pediatrics for more than 30 years. And I can tell you there's nothing that I did for my patients that had more proven value for their health than making sure they were vaccinated fully and on time. And Mr. Kennedy has done more than just about anybody in shaking the confidence that parents have in the vaccines that are given to children.
And he's not anti-vax. He's not. He's skeptical for the amount of vaccines. He's not anti-vax when he wants to know what is going on with the vaccine. That doesn't make you anti-vax. You saying, I want the border to be secure, doesn't make you anti-immigrant, but according to the left it does, and according to the media it does. You saying, hey, you know what? I'm fine as an adult if you want to go transition. I don't think kids should do it. Doesn't make you a transphobe, but to the media and to the left, it does. You saying, apparently, that we should really look into the amount of schedules for vaccination that children have doesn't make you anti-vax, but to them it does. Because when you're anti something, you want none of it. He's fully vaccinated. His family's fully vaccinated. He is not anti-vax. He questions, as we all should. We don't question what we put in our mouth, and damn it, we should be doing that. Have you seen the size of us? Have you? My God, we're huge. We are a giant species, and it's all created by snacks.
There are, of course, a lot of things broken about our healthcare system, but it's important that we know what works and what doesn't. Make sure the things that work, we really, continue to promulgate.
Which there's a doctor right there that works inside of the system, and that is true. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to go out there and make sure that things work. What doesn't work? Why isn't there the level of scrutiny for vaccines, which you're basically mandating in many places to take, when it comes to the efficacy over whether or not, the blue pill had to go through all this stuff? Why is it that if something goes wrong with the blue pill that you could be held liable over here for the injuries caused if it lasts longer than 4 hours? And on the other side of it, for vaccines, very limited liability to the companies. Great question, because business is a big part of it. Efficiency, what works, what doesn't work. Getting healthier, fantastic. Vaccines, we shouldn't get rid of them. But I'm 53. During my era of being vaccinated as a child, I got 6. Now, by the time you're 18, you're going to get 50. That's a lot of stuff. That feels like a lot. That's all I'm saying. And if you say it, Remember all the stuff with COVID? You could ask a question. And I will tell you, I got vaccinated. I had no problem with it. I didn't think I was going to become magnetic. I didn't think I was going to explode. I didn't think I was going to turn into a frog. I didn't think any of those things. But if we can't ask questions, then we can't move forward in trying to get to the bottom of what works and what doesn't work. Just passing it along isn't something that's good for any of us. And, like Vivek and them are getting ready to come on and take on the establishment and Elon. I like the fact that they're doing that because they're going to get to the bottom of certain things and the waste. And I think we're going to find out the amount of waste we have in our country is otherworldly. The amount of money we spend on things that is ridiculous is crazy. And that includes our healthcare system.
Going to happen in the next 4 years, we will face temptation to say that we want to replace that left-wing nanny state with a right-wing nanny state. The right answer to that question is hell no. The right answer is to dismantle the nanny state. We will face the temptation to say we want to replace the left-wing regulatory state with a right-wing regulatory state. The right answer to that is hell no. We want to dismantle the regulatory state. We will face the temptation to say, hey, we want to staff the bureaucracies with our own people and claim that we want to reform them. No. The right answer is to get in there and shut down the bureaucracy.
Amen. I think the most important thing out of all of this stuff, obviously the border is a big deal, getting out of wars and wasting money, but the bureaucracy is when people talk of the deep state, everybody thinks of that weird guy that's hiding, because Alex Jones, who yesterday saw his company bought out by The Onion for his bankruptcy, but then apparently a judge said no because of the way that the auction went. But he pitches the scary guys in the other room. It's bureaucracy, man. That's what it is. It's an unelected official that never has to face re-election, making decisions that the legislative body has decided to pass on and enforcing them through law enforcement at times, through fines. Those things need to change. And I think of all the stuff that I look forward to, I want to see how that works. And I'm not against regulation. We need regulation. But over-regulation, that we don't need. We want no part of that. And I have been a part of it when I was in California, and I did a story this week on my other show, carb. You're like, a carb? Oh, I don't want to eat carbs. Like Bell told me earlier, he's not really into the carbs. I'm like, I totally get that, right? CARB is California Air Resource Board. This week, they decided to vote to start charging oil and gas companies, as well as refineries, extra credits, which will see gas prices in already the most expensive state in the country rise again anywhere between 47 and 65 cents. They had a 7-hour hearing, of which 100 people spoke against it. And they still went through with it. You know why? Unelected bureaucrats and officials. The state itself.
Sir, you just calm down and enjoy your $7.50 a gallon gas.
Oh, my God. It's so insane. But that right there is, why did those people do that? Because there's no way for them to be held accountable. That bureaucracy is terrifying. And that's the stuff that needs to be cut out. And I think, by and large, most of these things are going to happen. Is it going to be perfect? No. Is there going to be pain in some places? Absolutely. But are we going to find out how much money we waste? Are we going to find out about how much crap that we didn't need to fund? Because you know what? It's a use it or lose it. That's the other side of it. If you're in the bureaucracy, you better spend every dollar you have and more, because otherwise, if you spend less, you'll get less. And it's about feeding your own. All right, we're going to wrap it up straight ahead. I saw Maddie's going to come on in here. We're going to chat, find out what he's doing on the show. I hope he's talking UFOs. Man, you got to talk UFOs. That's all that you should talk about. Because when they come down, you want to know that you have been a helper, not a hinderer. That's all I'm saying, kids. That's all I'm saying. So he joins the program straight ahead. I am in for him, who's in for Brian. It is the Matt Murphy Show. Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Wear my Raycon every day. You know what? You're thinking, what are these things, Chad? They're earbuds. Like, I love my earbuds because I'm doing audio all day long. These things are amazing. Fit, feel, comfort. 8 hours talk time, 32 hours for battery life, active noise cancellation. There's all these incredible things. But I put these against all of the stuff. And trust me, I have tried everything, being in the industry I'm in, that includes the big name brand ones, stuff that you've never heard of that's 5 times more expensive than the name brand ones. And these things blow them away. The comfort level and the sound quality is second to none. Active noise cancellation, fast charging, multi-connectivity, so you can be with 2 devices at once. So if you're looking for the best holiday present, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is, give the gift of sound through Raycon. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Save up to 30%. You get free shipping and a 30-day happiness guarantee. You're not happy? You send it back to them. They give you your money back, no questions asked. Up to 30% off site-wide. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. All right, back, forth. There we go. There you go.
Am I good? Check 1, 2. Hello? Bell, you okay?
Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show, soon to be in for the Brian Wilson Show. Chad in for Matt.
Hello, Chad.
What's going on, brother?
I like you a lot.
I like you too.
And for no other reason that there's now 2 of us to give Bell eternal hell.
I know.
Which is so much fun.
It's fantastic.
It's excellent.
We were talking, you said men of a certain age, the fight tonight.
I feel like men of a certain age are all rooting for Mike Tyson. Are we not?
Yeah, I think so. Because we want to live vicariously that when we're 58, that we too can not fight a 27-year-old, but can feel like we can still do something, like physically.
I also would suggest that Mike Tyson is somewhat of a redemption story, in as much as he made so many mistakes in his past. I mean, he has repaired himself mentally in me, and I don't really know why. I mean, I don't forget the things that he's done in his past that were perhaps negative things. I mean, obviously,
he spent 3 years in jail for rape.
He served 3 years for jail for rape. And, I mean, the details of which I don't necessarily want to go into, but, I mean, a woman was in his hotel room half naked.
It was kind of sketchy.
It was a sketchy kind of thing. But, I mean, so be it.
But he got convicted, and he did his time.
He came out of this, and he seemed to have something of a renaissance about his life and who he was and how he's going to present himself. And I don't know. I can't even put my finger on why I feel like he's a redemption story, but I feel like he's somewhat of a redemption story.
He is, kind of like Michael Vick was, right? Like, for the horrible things he did, there was something about the redemption story that it's odd how we pick and choose who we allow, because nobody's allowing Armie Hammer to have his redemption story.
Absolutely
and he didn't even eat anybody.
So Michael Vick's another one. I mean, I'm a big dog lover.
I am too.
I'm a rescue dog guy, and and I was an Atlanta Falcons fan. And so when all of this comes out, I'm like, Michael Vick is Satan incarnate to me. I mean, he's the worst.
Because when you heard what
being.
he did and how he did it.
But then you come out of that, he comes out of jail. I mean, and then you hear, and you either choose to believe him or not, right? You hear the number of humane societies that he walked into, the number of times that he told his story, the number of times that he's apologized. You think, okay, at some point, I'm going to give this guy a second shot.
Yeah, I think so. The funniest sign, though, when the Eagles signed him, there was a guy standing out in front of the stadium, said, "Hide your beagle, Vic's an eagle."
We had dog toys. We bought Michael Vick dog toys for the dogs. Just get him.
So funny. That's Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Show, soon to be Matt Murphy on the Brian Wilson Show. You guys have...
It's confusing.
Oh, yeah, it is confusing. You have a good one. My name's Chad Benson. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7.